all set? All right. Hello, everybody. How are you? So I'm J.T Squires, and I chose to read James Patterson by James Patterson. I really enjoy thriller books. So about 6 months, a year ago, I was referred to the Alex Cross novels. And now I'm on the 15th book. There's 31 of them. So I'm reading them, one after the other. And I thought, well, this would be a, fun guy to talk about. And I was driving back from New York City and decided to do the audio book. And it's James Patterson actually talking to you, telling his story. And he talks in the book about being a storyteller, and he doesn't want you to get up while he's telling the story. So he does short chapters if you're familiar with him. And I really enjoyed it because it's my first audiobook, first of all. I don't do audiobooks, and I don't do Kindles or anything like that. I like a book in my hand. And so I read this and listened to it, and what an incredible life. Did everybody read it? No? Oh, okay. So he tells the story of his life, and he's the world's best-selling author. He's sold over 300 million books. He's got a lot of thriller book series. I think it's the Women's Murder Club and the Alex Cross novels, which I really enjoyed. And he moved to New York, and he's from Newburgh, New York. He moved down to the city to go into advertising. He did that for a while, and then he just decided to become, a writer. He started writing. He was really good at it. But the stories that he tells in this novel, it's just, it's incredible to see what he's done. He, first of all, what's really incredible is he had a riverside apartment in New York City for $225 a month. So, with a balcony, and his neighbor was a musician, and she would have Patti LaBelle out on her balcony at 1, 2 in the morning doing, making music. He had to get up for work in the morning, but, it's Patti LaBelle and it's $225 a month. He said you had to stand on the toilet and crawl through a narrow window to get there, but he had a balcony. So there was that. He's written books with Bill Clinton. Just really incredible life. Some of his stories. Allegheny Airlines, he was the one that changed it to U.S. Airways. So yeah, it's really been just really incredible for him. Some of his stories, such as, let me think of one of them that I really liked. I got it right here. Sorry, I gotta look at my note. So when he was in advertising, he would go out to Vegas and do all these other things. And he said he was making really good money, but once he became a writer, they were paying for him to do $5,000 a plate dinners. So he's really just incredible. And I found some clips where he talks about his book, which I'd like to show because it explains, he explains it himself, and there's a really funny story where he saw somebody steal one of his books. And he thought they were going to buy it. He was signing books, and he said, really made him feel incredible. And then he saw the woman kind of put it in her bag and walk out of the store. So I will play that for you.
How old is he?
He is, that's a good question. I would say probably in the 70s. Yeah.
75.
Is it on? No.
That's very old.
Alexa? I'm not sure how to.
Press stop.
Technology is not one of my strong suits.
Is it any?
Yeah, right. There we are. We got one.
Best-selling authors of all time is autobiography, James Patterson by James Patterson. The Stories of My Life is on sale now. Please welcome back to the show, James Patterson. Welcome back to the show.
This is so cool. I'm not usually up this late.
Yeah, it's a big deal to have you past the witching hour. So last time you were here was with the book you co-wrote with former President Bill Clinton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, co-wrote. Yeah. You've written books with Dolly Parton. Is it nice to be out with the spotlight on yourself?
Yeah. No, this is good.
Yeah.
This is good. I like it.
Yeah. You obviously, when you write thrillers, you come up with thrilling titles, the kind of title that make people say, "I've got to read this book." Tell us how you came up.
That title isn't that good?
James Patterson by James Patterson.
Here's a question I have for you though.
Okay.
How's the guy in the
I
car?
was gonna say, because I went and said hi to you backstage, and then I saw this book, and I'm like, what's going on here?
That's exactly what happens to me. I go to the mirror. Get up in the morning, stumble into the bathroom, and I look in the mirror and I go, "Oh, you again."
You talk about your journey as a writer. Obviously, you could never have guessed you would sell over 400 million books over the course of your career. You talk about
Or 4,000.
any number is a big number, but you go to a bookstore early in your career when you're about to find out you're gonna have your first hit book,
Yeah.
and a pretty interesting thing happens when you see somebody looking at it.
Well, yeah, it was on the Times bestseller list, but I didn't believe it. So I went into the local bookstore. And what will happen with writers is, if you pick up the book and we're in the store, we're watching you. If you put it down, it breaks our heart.
Yeah.
Not kidding. If you buy it, it makes our day. So I'm watching this woman. This is early in my career. And she looks at it, she looks at the back, and then she walks down the aisle, and this is the best. I want to go hug this woman, you know. She puts it in her bag, she stole it. And all I'm going is, does that count as a sale?
Do you ever introduce yourself to someone? I mean, you must see people reading a James
I gotta
Patterson.
say, 7 years ago, I introduced myself at a swimming pool. This guy was, I said, "How do you like it?" He goes, "No, that's it, it's terrible." So I don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
That was the last time.
Do you
You
get-
learn your lesson, do you get it?
Do you get recognized as yourself now? This cover photo's not gonna help.
That's my hope. No, just last week, my wife said in town, I go to this little Italian restaurant that we really like, and they said, "Well, we'll fit you in." So the waiter takes me down a little aisle. This woman pops up. This is a true story, practically. And she goes, "I know you. You sold us our insurance policy." This is true. And then I go to my table and I'm sitting there, and I get my appetizer. And the guy behind goes, "Are you from Boston?" And I turn around and goes, "You're Tom Clancy." No. If I am, we're all a big fan. She died 9 years ago. And it's a horrible.
You write, your books are sort of known for being very gripping, short chapters. This book is
This one,
well,
really.
it is though. I mean, this reads, this is so readable, and it has this, momentum within it that you expect from one of your books. Did you sit down to write it like a thriller?
It was COVID. We're thinking about life and whatever. And I just said, let me just start writing down some stories. And I'm always conscious, but I always try to pretend there's somebody sitting across from me. I'm telling them a story. I don't want them to get up until I'm finished. You can get up now. And that's kind of what that's my deal.
We were talking backstage, so they heard you speak at an award show where you're being honored. And you
Try to be the nicest, no.
Well, you were very funny, and in a room where
That was that.
Yeah, that was that. But you also told a beautiful story about your grandfather and the way I think he told you about work.
Yeah, well, I'm a little kid up in Newburgh, New York, and it was a really great thing for me. I'm 8, 9, 10 years old. He would take me on this delivery route. And he was a great guy. He would go over to Storm King Mountain, and he'd be singing a terrible voice. He'd sing all these old songs, "Oh, Susanna," whatever. And he said, the secret is, he says, "I hope when you grow up, that when you go over to the mountain to work in the morning, you'll be singing." And I do. And I told other people, I don't work for a living. I play for a living. I suspect you do too.
I very much feel
You get a
that.
bad guess.
You keep a basket of ideas
Yeah.
on your desk. These are ideas for books.
It's a very clever thing on the title, it says ideas.
And you just sort of randomly reach in when you feel like
No, I don't randomly, I'll just start going through them and I'll go, what about. And it's partly that I feel excited about, sometimes you'll put something away and 2 years later you look at it and you go, I know where it goes now. I didn't know where it was going.
Do you still get excited having written all these books to see an idea for the first and you go, oh, now I know?
Yeah, oh yeah, every day is, not every day, but a lot of time, you know how it works, I mean, you suddenly, yeah, it's clicking.
Yeah.
This is working, I can make this work, or this chapter.
I think it's exciting because you just never know when it's going to happen again.
Yeah,
That's
well, there's that.
Yeah.
We try not to think about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, like with this thing, I started out with Little Brown, so with the autobiography, and I'm writing another one when I'm 90 and another one when I'm 110.
Oh, that's very smart. I get that $3 deal.
I got the money up front.
Thank you for being here. Congrats on the book. Such a pleasure. James Patterson, everybody. James Patterson by James Patterson is on sale now. We'll be right back with more Late Night.
So, to go on about, when he said about Tom Clancy, there's a chapter in the book where he talks about he was on the TV show Castle. And it's a murder mystery comedy television show. And he was in a high stakes poker game in the show. And he said he was walking down the street in New York and somebody said, oh, you played James Patterson on Castle. So, he really does have a great sense of humor. Stephen King, they have this sort of a feud going, this long time feud, but I think it's more just banter between the two of them. I watched his interview with Chris Wallace as well. They talk about it, and he talks about this in the book, and there's a couple little digs that he throws in the book. He'll say, my friend Stephen King, but we're just not on the best terms right now, and says things like that. So it's really, there's a lot of comedy in there. It's really interesting. His career, like I said, he was in advertising for a while, and decided, that wasn't where his heart was. So he decided to write, and he has a really good
So
knack for it.
what age was he when he decided to kind of transition his
He was almost 40.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was in his 40s. Yeah, I think he was. It would have been, probably in his 40s. It doesn't really say in the book. It just kind of goes like a timeline. But I would, between his first book was in the 70s. So,
Okay.
yeah, and but he's had every one of his books are bestsellers. So, has anybody read any of his thrillers or anything like that? Have you? Which ones?
Sure. I'm reading Crossfire right now. Just started that one.
Okay, I just started
Yeah,
Double
I just
Cross.
started reading him. I picked up James Patterson. I've never read it before, maybe about 6 months ago, and I'm like, okay, I like this. So now I'm just trying to read them.
So I'm on the 15th, so don't tell me what happens. That was a little bit ahead of me.
Do you try to read them in chronological
I do,
order?
I do.
Do you suggest that's the way they should be read?
I think it would make them make more sense, because your new characters come in and out, and it's when you really like a character, and then 3 books later they die or something. It's and it kind of explains the Alex Cross, how he becomes who he is.
Okay.
What ones have you read?
So many, I can't tell you the titles.
Do you read the Women's Murder Club or
I've
the?
read those, I've read Alex Cross. I haven't read he does some for children.
He does.
I have not read those. Have you?
I haven't. No.
I wonder how those are. You're good?
No, maybe Mary.
Oh. You've read them?
Are they good?
What age level? Fifth grade up. They're chapter books.
And what I love about his books as well is they're usually 2 or 3 page chapters. You can read, but what I don't like about them is I'll get in bed at 11 o'clock and at 4 in the morning, because he leaves every one of them at a cliffhanger, so 4 in the morning I'm still turning the pages, Did you say you read some Somebody else?
No, I was saying maybe Mary.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Did he indicate why he started with thrillers at all, or in his?
He always had a passion for thrillers. In fact, he talks about people in the, when he's talking about advertising, he said, people ask me why I write about serial killers. He said, well, I think I've met a few in the advertising industry.
Did he have a degree, like in education, or?
Advertising. Yeah. He worked for J.T Advertising in New York. And, yes.
I have not read any of his books at all, but I'm wondering, are they, first of all, are they mostly first-person books or third-person books?
It goes back and forth.
Okay.
His chapters go back and forth. Sometimes it's third person, sometimes it's first person. Usually when it's an Alex Cross chapter, it'll be first person. And then I notice it's usually third person when it's through the eyes of the killer.
Okay, and are they a lot of them like detectives solving crime?
Yeah, so his most famous books are the Alex Cross novels. He's written 31 of them. And so he's a criminal psychologist. And he first starts with working in Washington, D.C., and then ends up going to the FBI. But he solves high-profile murders. And, one is there's somebody trying to kill the president, and then there's somebody killing famous people in Hollywood, but they're really well written. They're page turners. They really are. And so, yeah, I recommend them. Yes?
Has he written anything besides crime dramas?
Yes, he has. He's written children's books.
Oh, yeah.
And he's also, he's written love stories, and I think he has a couple Christmas books out, kind of thing. Yeah. He's done it. He's pretty much done every genre. Yes.
Have you read any books by like Louise Penny or James who's the guy? Baldacci?
That's, okay, so everybody tells me to read Baldacci.
Okay, so I wondered how they compare.
I haven't. No, I haven't. Really liked some of the Mario Puzo books. I like crime, drama, thriller books, but I have not read those. I definitely will, but just the Alex Cross ones I really started, especially during COVID. I was reading, 1 or 2 books a week.
Yes.
So, but yeah, they're really good. Anybody questions?
He has a lot of books that are written by him and somebody else.
Yes.
Does he talk about that in the book, why he does that, and how much does he do, and what's the other person do?
So they have to have his approval, but he puts out so many books. He has a jar on his desk that are ideas. He said he writes it's idea jar, and so what he does is he basically sets up the structure and everything, and then he has other people pretty much fill in different parts, but they can't make any changes or kill off any characters without his approval. So yeah. Anybody else? Any questions?
Did he say who he enjoyed working with the most?
Well, he really enjoyed working with Dolly Parton. He wrote a book with Dolly Parton. He's written a book with Bill Clinton. Just a lot of different people, and he really enjoyed Dolly. He said she was really fun, and they had a really great time writing that book.
Have you read that one?
I haven't. No, I've been reading the Alex Cross novels in order, and I've only taken a break to read this book. Is there anything else? Any other questions anybody has, or no? I would really recommend to read it if you haven't. If you enjoy thriller books, they're really good to read. And like I said, they're 2-3 page chapters. Yes.
So
the interview, he said that, or the interviewer said that it was written kind of like a thriller. Did you feel like this book was written more like a thriller since he writes thrillers? Or did you feel like it was written more like an autobiography?
A little bit of both. It was written in the same type that he does his thrillers, where it's the 2-page chapters, and but the stories are not in order all the time, and there's family stories, there's advertising stories, then he might go back to family stories. For instance, tells a story about his grandmother, and he's working one day, and he gets a phone call that from a state trooper in Newburgh, his grandfather's missing. So he rents a car, and he said, I'll be there as soon as possible, and drives, 2-3 hours up to Newburgh. And his grandfather's been dead for 10 years. But the grandmother, she just kind of wanted to see him, and they took her to the grave, and there's stories like that. And then the next chapter might be him talking about Patti LaBelle singing on the balcony next door. I mean, he's really had an incredible life, just the famous people he's met, the things he's done, things that I would have never expected that out of him. So, it does read like his thrillers, but it doesn't, it's written like an autobiography, but it reads like his thrillers.
Okay, but it's not in like chronological order of his life?
No, I think he sat down and he started out that way, and then by the time you get to the middle of the book, he jumps back to childhood stuff, and then he'll talk more about his advertising, and he jumps back to something else. So I think he sat down to write it chronological, but I think it kind of he just put down in words whatever came to his head, whatever story he thought of at that point. I found it really interesting because, like I said, he's the one that did the U.S. Airlines, all the famous people he's met, and this was before he was famous. Just being in New York and, all that, and so it's really incredible, really incredible. Is there any other questions? Anyone? Did you grab the...
I did, because I wanted to be sure that I was right. One of the books that he wrote for kids is supposedly about and by Alex Cross's son. So he's tied it down.
Who doesn't come into the thriller series until about the 5th or 6th book. And where I'm at now, he's still a toddler. So...
But he's written a few books.
yeah.
And interestingly, these are just his kids' books.
Oh, really?
Wow.
He's written over 300 books.
And for them, he says that they're Jimmy Patterson books.
Well, he does, he refers to himself as Jim and Jimmy throughout the autobiography. Are there any other questions? Anything? Okay. So, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. Any comments, questions?
Thanks for sharing.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Yeah, no, I really recommend it, especially if you like thriller books. And this book was really, you really felt like you got to know him. I felt it to be a very true and honest telling of his life. So I really recommend everybody, pick it up or, order it or whatever. It's really good. It's really good.
Do we have it here?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I got it from here, so yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, I have a couple of copies of it, so if anyone's interested, you can ask at the desk, and I have one back there as well.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
So, thank you all for coming. Thank you.